Greetings and salutation, motherfuckers. Kaiser the Final Brave here again with the rest of the Otaku Clubhouse. Another episode, Sink or Swim. Joined by my friend Kumaso.
Hello.
And Bancho Gato.
Yeah!
So, got another anime today. It's called Deca-Dence. What y'all niggas think of it?
I think you're meant to say Deca-Dence, but yeah. Man. This anime was interesting. Certainly interesting. And if you're watching this after the last Sink or Swim we just did, I don't want to date this, but yeah, it's looking a lot more interesting than that one. Akuma?
I'll say this. This is just going to be a prediction. This is going to end up being the anime of the season that many of the snootier members of the AniTube community are going to be pointing out as this is the new fresh anime that we've gotten of this season. This is going to be just like every other one that they get overly hyped about. And that's not to say that I'm not positive on that, but I'll give more of how I feel later on in the review.
Well, Kaiser, would you like to give like a brief explanation as to what this story is to your best capabilities?
Oh, certainly. This is an anime about these characters living in a vast wasteland on their mechanical, sort of bioorganic ship that they all pitch in and help run, make sure everything's smooth. And the main character is someone who is aspiring to be a fighter of some sorts, battle against these invading monsters that try to kill them and destroy their little battleship. And it's a lot of aliens.
Well, we don't know what they are.
Different weirdly colored people.
They're like weird creatures and weird people, like multi-skinned, like multicolored skin humanoids, which I guess we'll get into that later. And it's definitely a post-apocalyptic setting. They implied that humanity's been wiped out except for this mobile city, which they call the Deca-Dence. There's these bugs. Essentially it's a humanity versus bug series, which, you know, Starship Troopers, what's that one? Love, Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan for the first half of Attack on Titan. The main character in this is named Natsume. She seems to have been involved early on in an incident where her and her father, who by the time that the story seems to go deeper into it, doesn't seem to be around anymore for whatever reason, you know, assuming that he died. It's shown that Natsume, early in this part of the story, loses her arm as a child. And the story continues on, despite the fact that she lost her arm. She wants to get involved in fighting against these monsters.
It's probably because she lost her arm that she wants to.
Possibly. I find the fact that Natsume has lost her arm to be an interesting thing to add. A typical piece of adversity that's added to characters in order to give them not just motivation, but to ground them a little bit, you know? Yeah, and it's not like one of those typical super clean, super awesome looking bionic arms. Like, she doesn't have fucking Jackson's
arms. It's kind of
lame,
actually. It's got like three really basic mechanical fingers, but other than that, it seems functional.
Yeah, I'd say it actually like looks less visually pleasing, and that's not to talk bad about the animation or the art style, but it looks less visually pleasing than even Guts' arm from Berserk. But one of the main things that I do want to bring attention to is the fact that the anime does look good. I think that this is a very good looking anime. Not just counting the animation, I'm just talking about the art style. The art style is done a huge plus by the animation. Like, it all around, this is probably... Would you guys say this is the best looking anime of the season?
I don't know. Fucking God of High School looks pretty good too, so...
Yeah, I think it might be a tie, because God of High School has some really good animation. But the art
It's,
style,
well, at least the
it's
anime
alright.
is very faithful to its source art style. So, and this one is an original series, I believe, an original anime. So, I would say they're about equal, and the animation wise, they're about equal as well. Because not to compare these two series too much, because they're vastly different. But where this one stands out is in Decadence, you'll see a lot of female characters' ass cracks through the fabric of their fucking pants. It's a detail that it's hard to like not notice. Like they really go out of their way to make these character designs like aesthetically pleasing. Even the simplistic ones like Natsume.
I mean, they are what I would say aesthetically pleasing. I probably sound like I'm raving, honestly. I feel that the art style for this really does stand out. Like, it's vibrant. It reminds me a bit of it looks like a bit better version of what they were trying to do with Tower of God. It's so vibrant that like it stands out. There's not a ton of detail inside of the character's line art. Like there's not a million things going on with the character's hair and stuff, but it's almost a totally solid color, and that solid color stands out. So I think that it just looks really good. I can't talk too much more about that. The story, one of the things that I guess, how do I put this? I like that her job, or at least the job that she's given almost immediately, is that she's going to be...
Yeah, it's grimy work. She basically cleans the outside of the Decadence. And then she wanted to be a soldier, but she's not physically... Or they implied that because of her arm, she's not qualified.
Yes, and this brings up something that we talked about and touched on slightly when we were watching it. It's the fact that this adversity that the story builds against Natsume reminds me a bit of the adversity Asta is given in Black Clover. He's in this world and he has a thing that he wants to do, but because of a physical abnormality or a defect in his case, he's not able to do it.
But despite that fact, he still makes an effort to do it, which I like about Natsume. We discussed the rest of the characters, at least the ones we've seen so far, that we were giving a little insight into their personalities. There was one character they introduced with a whole like a little brought up her name like underneath her, but we don't know anything about her aside from she got really tight pants and really big boobs. Hopefully we'll learn more about these characters.
The only thing I know about that character is that she's voiced by Eri Kitamura.
Who?
Which, if she's a pretty well-known voice actress, like very, very popular.
Yeah.
I think I like the fact that they're giving her this little handicap. Because, like we said, it's an interesting thing.
She's also accosted by this green-haired dude whose name was like Fennel seeds. Grown-ass man trying to hit on a girl straight out of high school or middle school or something like that. Of course, there's their boss, which seems to be... I would describe him as like the protagonist of another anime that ended, and he stuck his way into this one.
He seems to come off as the archetypical Osan character. You know, your
tough and gruff.
Yeah, like your old man who's seen enough and had enough of this bullshit. It seems like he's the kind of guy who would drink with Yami, but probably not hang out with him afterwards because Yami's a degenerate.
So yeah, he seems to be hiding things of his own. In this world, there are these creatures called... I call them Glypnirs, but that's obviously not their name. Godalls. I can remember that easily, like Shadalls. They're both cancer. But these creatures roam around and they hunt after the last remnants of humanity. At least that's what I'm assuming they're doing. They very specifically go after humans. The humans have a unique way of fighting them where they like create anti-gravity fields and they fucking stab them with pipes and drain their blood out, which seems to also double as a fuel source. And the titular vehicle of the show, the Deca-Dence, the mobile city, does this. They send out a bunch of tubes into a gigantic ghetto, and then they just drain some of its blood out and use that as fuel to form a giant fist. And you really got to see this. They shoot this. There's a whole bunch of kinetic energy represented through the animation, and they just punch the shit out of this giant sin-looking motherfucker from Final Fantasy X. And he just fucking splatters everywhere, dude. It's like, you gotta see this. Like, I might be giving away my rating here.
I know when watching this that Hawkeyser probably was like in his head, because there is a very long, very deliberate animation sequence that you look at, and it's throwing together all these connectors and energies flowing through the machines, and you're seeing all the CG as the camera swings around and shows gears turning and servos popping and everything going. And I know Hawkeyser was probably sitting there like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a mecha, and then it turned out to be a giant fist.
Well, I knew it wasn't gonna be a mecha, because as we all know, mecha is dead.
Okay, moving on. How about the soundtrack? I thought it sounded really nice, and it didn't sound generic, which is a plus. Kind of like one of the background songs kind of sounded like Witcher music, which is interesting.
I'm not sure what the song was being used there, but if I am like, it had that really upswing high energy rock thing that kind of happens. I always refer back to Sora Iro days whenever I hear something playing like that, because it has that super high energy like rock going with it. But I'm looking into it now, and the singer for it, the opening theme is called Theater of Life by Konami
They played
Suzuki.
a bit of it at the end during the fucking giant fist segment.
And here comes the giant fist! But it
other than that,
good.
like
It was a good song.
The sound effects is good. Like, everything sounds the way it should. When fucking at the beginning of the episode, when a fucking Hummer gets spikes shot through it, it sounds exactly like it would. The voice acting is good. There's no gripes about it as far as that goes.
Yeah, pretty flat out. I can't really say anything that's bad about it. I know it may have came off originally sounding like I was going to be a little negative on it, but it's mostly under the fact that I feel that this anime is going to be possibly overhyped. And that's not to say that I think that the anime itself isn't going to be good. Because that first episode gave me, number one, it gave me a feeling of something along the lines of Gargantia, or what was the one? King Gainer, where they're all these colorful characters are living in this weird world and on this one plateau or whatever. So I do look forward to seeing what comes of it. I'm gonna just jump into my opinion on it, and I would say that this probably gets more of a swim from me.
I think we could say that's a swim all around. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun watching it. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. It wasn't too much like the rest of the shit that came out this season or last season. You know, yeah, like I said. Like y'all said, I have no complaints about it. No major. I said it's a swim.
Major caveat. There's an asterisk next to this. I think this, from the first impression, I think it's gonna be a swim. I'm interested in seeing more from this. However, that being said, this is a Bugs versus Humanity anime. We've seen Darling in the Franxx. We've seen fucking Terraform Mars. We've seen Attack on Titan second half. If it turns out that the fucking finale, like the climax of this anime is complete shit, then I'm coming back to this episode and I'm giving this shit a sink. But yeah, no, it's a swim.
Yeah, ultimately what we're saying is, yeah, we think it's good.
Any last words, Hawkeyser?
Nope, I think that's about it. Check it out. Let us know what you think of this first episode of this anime, and share this episode with your friends. Have a nice night, day, morning, whatever. We'll see you in the next episode.